Star Alex Eala takes center stage at the BNP Paribas Tennis Paradise in Indian Wells, and of course, Filipino fans turn out in full force to cheer her on.
Of course, I'm very grateful for all the support that's been coming my way, and it's really heartwarming to see that they really they make the effort.
Courtside seats at Indian Wells were gone in hours, and the name creating that ticket madness wasn't Sinner or Alcaraz or even Coco Gauff. It was a 20-year-old Filipina who wasn't even inside the top 100 this time last year. Alex Eala has done something at the 2026 BNP Paribas Open that nobody saw coming. She turned the fifth Grand Slam into her personal fortress before her first match even started. Practice court 6 was unrecognizable. Fans were pressed against fences of adjacent courts, just watching her hit ground strokes in a Tuesday training session. Then came March 8th, International Women's Day, where Eala walked onto Stadium 1 and so thoroughly dismantled Coco Gauff, the same player who had humiliated her 6-0, 6-2 in Dubai just 18 days earlier, that Gauff's left arm gave out mid-match. She retired trailing 6-2, 2-0. Only the second retirement of her entire career. Eala is now the first Filipino in the entire history of this tournament to reach the round of 16. Tournament executives are openly celebrating the chaos. Novak Djokovic called it a good problem. Andy Roddick said it's great for tennis. But here's what nobody is saying out loud. When three of the biggest names in tennis are publicly reacting to a number 32 ranked player's fan base, ticket madness of this magnitude at a 50-year-old tournament doesn't get created by ranking points or match results alone. There's a cultural force behind Alex Eala that the tennis world is only beginning to understand. Subscribe right now because this breakdown goes places other channels simply won't touch. That cultural force has a very specific name, a very specific history, and it didn't arrive at Indian Wells by accident. To understand what is actually happening here, you have to go back to 2018, a 13-year-old girl from Quezon City packing her bags and flying to Mallorca, Spain, to train at the Rafael Nadal Academy. No guarantee of success, no roadmap, just a family that believed their daughter belonged among the best in the world and a kid disciplined enough to prove them right over the next 7 years. That decision is the foundation of everything you're watching right now. By 2022, Eala had already made history, becoming the first Filipino to win a junior Grand Slam singles title at the US Open. She addressed the crowd in Tagalog afterward, and the video went viral back home. That was the first signal. The Philippines wasn't just casually following her career, they were emotionally invested in it in a way that transcended sport. But junior titles don't fill stadium seats at WTA 1000 events. What converted national pride into genuine ticket madness was a single tournament in March 2025, the Miami Open. Eala walked into Miami, ranked number 140 in the world, holding a wild card. She was supposed to be a first-round exit. Instead, she defeated Jelena Ostapenko, Madison Keys, and world number 2 Iga Swiatek in consecutive matches to reach the semifinals, becoming the first Filipino player in history to reach a WTA 1000 semifinal and the first to break into the WTA top 100. That run didn't just change her ranking, it changed the entire relationship between the Filipino community and professional tennis. Tony Nadal, inaugural director of the Rafa Nadal Academy, said it plainly after Miami. She's shown she has great potential because it's not easy to beat the world's number 2 and number 5 in the same tournament. Once she gets her game right, she could be among the best in the world. The Philippines heard that, and they responded accordingly. From Miami onward, the crowds didn't just grow, they organized. By the time Eala reached her first WTA Tour final at Eastbourne in June 2025, Filipino supporters were traveling internationally to watch her play. By the time she made history at the 2025 US Open, becoming the first Filipino to win a Grand Slam main draw singles match in the Open era with a comeback victory over Clara Tauson, the fan base had developed a coordination and intensity that most top 10 players simply don't experience. She ended 2025 ranked number 50 in the world. She had started it at number 143. That trajectory, from wildcard nobody to top 50 player with a globally mobilized fan base in under 12 months, is what arrived at Indian Wells in March 2026. And the tournament was not fully prepared for what that meant logistically. The first signs appeared before a single competitive ball was struck. Journalist TJ Manotok, who has covered Filipino sports for decades, made the context crystal clear when he told Front Office Sports, "The country has been hungry for the next Manny Pacquiao. When he was at his peak, life stopped. When there's a fight, nothing's on the road, everyone's watching." With over 10 million Filipinos living outside the Philippines, including approximately 1.7 million in California alone, Indian Wells was essentially a home tournament waiting to happen. The moment Eala was confirmed in US, the draw courtside seats became the most sought-after commodity in the desert. Gone in hours, not days, hours. Analyst Christopher Eubanks addressed the safety dimension on air before her first match even took place. "We saw it in Australia. There were mobs and lines of people to make it to her side courts. Hopefully we're able to get her on a big court so everyone is able to stay safe around the grounds, because there's going to be a large number of fans coming to support." That's a former professional tennis player going on broadcast and raising crowd management concerns for a player ranked 32nd in the world. Let that sink in. The tournament's own response to the situation was revealing. BNP Paribas Open executive Philippe Doré didn't downplay the chaos, he leaned into it openly. "We love every minute of it. We benefit from it. We promote it." The tournament posted a day-in-the-life video featuring Eala that pulled 94,000 views, making it the most-watched piece of content the BNP Paribas Open published during the entire 2026 event, by a margin that wasn't remotely close. Indian Wells also included her in its Class of 2026 Instagram feature alongside 7 top 10 players. The tournament's own website described her as one of tennis's most delightfully unkept secrets, and already a household name in the sport before she had played a single match on the grounds. This is a 50-year-old institution bending its promotional strategy around a player who hasn't won a Grand Slam title yet. That alone should tell you how significant the ticket situation had become. When her actual debut match finally arrived on March 6th, it delivered everything the build-up had promised and then some. Eala faced Ukraine's Diana Yastremska in the round of 64, a player she had beaten convincingly before, but who proved considerably tougher this time around. The match stretched to 2 hours and 43 minutes, the longest of the day. Yastremska pushed Eala to the absolute edge, breaking to lead 5-4 in the third set and putting the Filipino on the verge of an early exit. But Eala broke back, held serve, and eventually closed out a 7-5, 4-6, 7-5 victory, with the clock approaching midnight and the temperature having dropped sharply across the desert. Her supporters didn't move. Wrapped in winter coats and blankets, they stayed through every nerve-shredding deuce, every double fault from Yastremska, every fist pump from Eala. When the match ended just before midnight, the crowd's reaction was the kind you'd expect from a Grand Slam final, not a second-round match at 11:58 p.m. Eala acknowledged exactly what that meant in her post-match remarks. "For them to make the effort to stay up late and stay in the cold and cheer me on, it really added to the feelings and the emotions." 2 days later came the match that genuinely shifted the conversation from remarkable crowd story to something with much higher stakes. Coco Gauff, world number 4, two-time Grand Slam champion, one of the most dominant players on the WTA Tour in 2025, walked onto Stadium 1 on March 8th carrying the memory of a 6-0, 6-2 demolition of Eala in Dubai just 18 days earlier. On paper, this was a mismatch. In reality, it became one of the most talked-about matches of the entire tournament. Eala was the sharper player from the first game. Gauff committed 7 double faults in the opening set alone, converting just 43.6% of her first serves. Eala, by contrast, was making 68% of her first serves and dictating play from the baseline with a clarity that looked nothing like the player who had been bageled in Dubai. Gauff took a medical timeout late in the first set for treatment on her left arm, returned but couldn't stop Eala from sealing the set. After dropping the first two games of the second set, Gauff's body gave out entirely. She walked to the net and told Eala directly, "I'm sorry, I hate to do this." It was only the second retirement of Gauff's career, the first since Cincinnati 2022. Eala's response on court that night said everything about where her head is right now. Rather than celebrating aggressively, she used her Stadium One microphone on International Women's Day to acknowledge Gauff as an amazing competitor and an amazing role model, wished her a full recovery, and then, in Tagalog, told her Filipino supporters, "Mabuhay mga kababayan, andito tayo sa California." Translated, "Long live my compatriots, we are here in California." The crowd erupted. With that result, Eala became the first Filipino player in the entire history of the Indian Wells tournament to reach the round of 16. Her next opponent is world number 14, Linda Noskova of the Czech Republic, a first-ever meeting between the two, with a quarterfinal spot on the line. What makes this story genuinely different from every other rising star with passionate fans narrative you've heard before is the scale of what's being built in real time. Eala currently sits at nearly 1 million Instagram followers, more than double that of higher-ranked players like Madison Keys and Amanda Anisimova. The WTA responded to the surge in Filipino interest by launching the Philippine Women's Open in January 2026, the country's first-ever WTA tournament. Tickets for its final sold out before Eala had even confirmed she was playing. A 20-year-old ranked 32nd in the world is reshaping how tournaments are promoted, how courts are assigned, how crowds are managed, and how a sport markets itself to an entirely new global audience. The courtside seats at Indian Wells were gone in hours because a decade of sacrifice, elite training, and historic performances finally collided with 1.7 million people in California who had been waiting for exactly this. Alex Eala didn't stumble into this ticket madness. She earned every single piece of it. And given that she's still in the tournament with a round of 16 match still to come, the chaos at Indian Wells is nowhere near finished. If this kind of deep dive perspective on tennis is what you want more of, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Because when Eala's run at Indian Wells reaches its conclusion, we'll be breaking down every angle of it right here.